Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for a very beautiful explanation of faith. You explained about Shraddha. Shraddha, how it is just to have free from doubts and have faith in the meaning of the Shastras and to have inspiration to follow, and it should be not offenses, and it should be natural, Swabhaviki. Very nicely you explained all this. But in Chaitanya Charitamrita also there is a description, Shraddha Shabde Vishwas Sudrudu Kaile Nikshaya Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Hai. There in translation, Sarva Karma Krita Hai, as we read, all activities are done. Then if you have Krishna Bhakti, is that meaning all the reactions of karma are gone, or if you perform bhakti, no more activity to be performed? What is the meaning of sarva karma krita hai? Thank you.
I'm not sure if I understood the question correctly. So you're asking if we have Shraddha, and according to the definition which is given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it means that we have firm Vishwas, the conviction or the trust that by following Bhakti everything else will be fulfilled. And what's the question about this?
Whether the meaning of sarva karma krita hai means no more any other activity to be performed, requirement is not there for any other activity first, or all your reactions to your past karma are gone. Is that the meaning? Which sarva karma krit, karma, meaning of the karma word, how would you take it?
No, here of course the meaning of karma is not your past karma which you brought with you. It basically means that by worshipping Krishna you are done with all the obligations, with other obligations, and therefore commenting on this verse, sometimes they say sarva dharman parityaja, sometimes they say Yathatarurmula Nishachinina Tripyanti Tatskanda Bhuja Upashakha. Sometimes they say that what is this verse? It's about Putapta Nrinam Ditrinam Devarshid Putapta Nrinam Ditrinam. So basically it means that if you're doing Krishna Bhakti, if you're serving Krishna, you're not obliged to do anything else. But because we're living in this society, and this is also explained by Srila Jiva Goswami, and that sometimes to show the example to other people, or because of some other reasons, we do other obligations which are necessary and which are expected from us, but in the same sort of line, we're doing it as a service to Krishna. But basically, the idea here is that when we serve Krishna, we don't need to serve anyone else.
Hare Krishna, this is a question to His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj. For this last class you gave, so you talked about Raghupati Upadhyay, the conversation between that, and you concluded with how it's a special privilege for the Gaudiyas to worship the Sham Sundar, adolescent and Krishna playing flute. So it is for what is for what is our on our level as sadhaka, what is our duty for this, as you said about that? Because
So, is your question that as sadhakas should we also worship the same form of Krishna?
No, what it mean? As you said about 16-year-old Kishora, we have to meditate on him. So, is my duty what I'm supposed to do when you said about this?
Well, we all are expected to worship that Kaishora form of Krishna. It is meant for everybody. As I mentioned there, all forms of Krishna are worshipable. But as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it's the specific form of Krishna that has been propagated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the highest form of worship in terms of forms of Krishna is the Kaishora form. Right? So that is the idea. And also, as I mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita purports also, when Prabhupada is discussing all the different forms and avatars of Krishna, the four-handed forms plus others, he said our attention should be exclusively focused on the two-armed form of Krishna playing the flute in Vrindavan. That doesn't mean that we don't respect the other forms. We should not take it like that. But our specific object of worship is this Krishna. Even as sadhakas, we all also should try to cultivate especially attraction to this form of Krishna. Okay?
Hare Krishna. So my question is for His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj. Quality of Krishna number 38 is happy. And Krishna says in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:20-27 to be happy. And also you Maharaj once said, try to always remain positive. So my question is, how can a devotee always remain happy?
Oh, sorry, I was not able to hear clearly, so Maharaj just mentioned. Your question is how, considering that Krishna is always happy, and the jiva also has some of the qualities of Krishna, so how can the devotee also be happy? Always. By remaining connected to Krishna through wonderful devotees like Bhakti Vijnana Maharaj. If you're always in the association of devotees who are always happy, then we will also be happy. If you're associating with devotees who are glum, gloomy, or always complaining, or have negativities, then it's not a very good formula or a recipe for being happy always. So when we associate with happy devotees and we practice what they do, if they're happy, they must be doing something right. So then if we do what they're doing, then we will also be happy. Of course, the mind will take us up and down. So there will be moments when we are not happy, but we still have to do what it needs to become happy.
Hare Krishna. This is question to His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj. Now in Bhauma Vrindavana, Krishna performs his pastimes, especially the Raslila pastime, when he is around 7 or 8 years. And then after 11 years, he actually goes to Mathura. So in his Kaishora age, he was not in Vrindavan. So how do we understand that?
So your question is, because somehow I'm not able to hear clearly, so I'm just repeating the question to make sure I understood right. You're saying Krishna performed the Ras Leela when he was about 8 years old, and he left Vrindavan for Mathura when he was 10 and a half, roughly. So generally Kaishora is attained after that, after 10 or 11 years of age. So then Krishna was not, when he left from Mathura, he had not yet reached Kaishora also. That's the question. Well, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has the answer to that. He says that, citing a verse from the Padma Puran, that great personalities mature 1.5 times faster or earlier than others. So in other words, for a normal child, let's say the Balya Avastha, the childhood ends at the age of 5, but for him is 1.5 times earlier, so 3 years and 4 months. So Krishna ended his Balya and entered Pauganda at 3 years and 4 months. So the 5 years becomes compressed to 3 years and 4 months. So he completed Pauganda not at 10, but at 6 years and 8 months. So his Kaishore actually began at roughly 7 years of age. So that's how he was in Vrindavan till that time, and then he departed.
Hare Krishna. I have two questions. One question is addressed first to His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, this is a question both connected to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and Madhuri Kadamni, what we are discussing. In the Madhuri Kadamni, it was mentioned about this Shubhani, the qualities which manifest with the Shuddha Bhakti, and we have been discussing the 64 qualities of Krishna. So my question is, same in the discussion in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, it mentions that one who is practicing pure devotional service, if these qualities are there, then that means he's practicing pure devotional service. If these qualities are not manifesting, that means his practice of devotional service is not pure. So I want a clarification of that, Maharaj.
So your question is that if these qualities are not manifesting in a particular devotee, that means he's not doing pure devotional service. If they're manifesting in somebody, then we know that they are practicing devotional service. In general, yes. However, see, there's also something like our svabhava. And the svabhava has also certain qualities which has been acquired from previous births. So we may have some of those qualities from the previous life as part of our svabhava. It may not necessarily be connected to the development of bhakti. So, as I also mentioned in the course of the talk, somebody asked a question that these qualities are also found in some others who may not be devotees, but Jiva Goswami says that those qualities are not the real qualities. They are only a semblance of those 50 qualities. Even if they are found to exist in somebody who is not practicing devotional service, they are not real. And the explanation is to the extent that they are not in touch with the real spiritual substance, which is Krishna and devotional service. To that extent, those qualities will be just a semblance, the abhasa of the real qualities. So to what extent we have brought into this life, when we come to Krishna consciousness, the semblance of those qualities that may be existing and continuing, and to what extent the qualities have emerged as a result of direct practice of bhakti, it may not be such an easy thing to always understand. But as a general principle, the more we do bhakti, the more these devotional qualities will manifest, these 15.
Hare Krishna, this question is addressed to His Holiness Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Maharaj. Maharaj, regarding Shraddha, faith, which was a discussion today, I would like to know that there is faith and firm faith, and there is a stage of Nishtha also. And in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, there is the 3 adhikaris, Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama, the adhikaris to practice bhakti. So, and there is this adhikar is based on Shraddha Anusari.
So when we say that a Kanishta goes to the level of Madhyama, Shraddhavan, he is Shraddhavan, there is a development of faith happening. Does it mean that he is on the stage of Nishtha? Or is it talking about the faith which is the entry door for bhakti?
Basically, you can only have firm faith when you reach the level of Nishtha, because before the level of Nishtha, there is still quite strong identification with the mind and the body, but mostly with the mind, and because the mind is the source of unsteadiness. Mind is always unsteady, always wavering. Then you cannot, by definition, you cannot have firmity of your faith because you're still very mental. And that's the reason. But nevertheless, when we're talking about Shraddha, and I was talking today about the development of Shraddha in the meaning of scriptures, we can, if we know the logic of the scriptures, we still can have quite strong faith, and therefore these three grades of adhikaris are there. You can be an uttama adhikari in practicing bhakti. Of course, it's adhikar for practicing Vaidhi bhakti, but still. But really unshakable faith, unflinching faith is on the level of Nishtha, because nobody can deviate you from the path, since you have very strong experience already. But before that, you have very strong intellectual conviction. That's also possible and should be, we should strive for.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for sharing your realizations on these topics. Maharaj, you were mentioning, yesterday Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj was mentioning about the basic tattvas. They're all very deep and they're very inconceivable to understand. So, and today also in Madhurya Kadamini, in the second Vrishti, it came about dualism and monism. So in that I had these questions, either of the Maharaj, if can be answered, if you all can answer, Maharaj. So first question is, they're all in sequence. So first we say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu propagated Achintya Bheda Abheda. So it says inconceivable oneness and difference. So we usually hear in Prabhupada books also, Prabhupada gives example of ocean and a droplet. So oneness and difference, which we understand. So what is inconceivable about it? So that I wanted to understand. When they say use the word achintya, and I'll just mention second and third question. They're all in connection, Maharaj. So usually we also say about Brahmavadis and mayavadis. So what exactly is the difference in connection to what is there, especially when they say that oneness in Ishvara and Jiva, when they understand, what is Brahmavadi's understanding of Ishvara and Jiva, whether they understand they are all, is it same or different? And we also hear sometimes Brahmavadis, they come into the path of bhakti. So when they come into the path of bhakti, is it their realization when they attain their Swarupa, will it be different than a person who came to directly bhakti? So what would be their, whether there would be conception, because we also hear that the same absolute truth is viewed in different ways by different devotees or different sadhakas. So is it their realization would be different? So these are questions in one after. So first, so this So Bhakti Vijnana Swami Maharaj, if do you like to answer? Yes,
You asked whom?
Maharaj either can answer. Okay,
you
okay,
asked-
yes, Maharaj. Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj.
You asked so many questions.
First question,
Keep
if
track of.
yeah,
Okay. So first one was about Achintya Bheda Bheda. Yes? What is inconceivable about the drop in the ocean? Well, you see, when the drop also contains certain qualities that are present in Krishna or in the ocean. That is, the jiva contains certain qualities, but they may not be present in the same way that they are present in the Supreme Lord. They will come and go, and they are dependent on the mercy of Krishna for those qualities to manifest in any meaningful manner. So, to understand that we are one with Krishna can be misunderstood if you do not emphasize that we are different also. In Jaiva Dharma, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur speaks how it is important to emphasize the difference also. Because otherwise we will veer towards mayavad. So the idea of balancing the two, if you go just towards one side, it is very tempting for those on that path of Advaita philosophy to see just the oneness. And there may be some in the extreme of Dvaita who see only the difference. So how to in reconciling this oneness and difference is where the inconceivability rises. And especially we will find this principle applied to so many other ontological categories, to use a big word, and where it is difficult to harmonize. But this principle harmonizes these different categories. Krishna with respect to his expansions, Krishna with respect to Srimati Radharani, and so on and so forth. What was the other part of your question?
difference between Brahmavadis and Mayavadis in connection to, because we hear Brahmavadis, that means they are attracted to Brahman, but what is their understanding about Jiva and Ishvara? Do they consider as separate or do they consider it as one?
Brahmavadis are attracted to the impersonal Brahman. They have some natural affinity for worshipping that form or that aspect of the Supreme Lord. But they are different from Mayavadis in the sense that they do not have envy of the Supreme Lord. They may or may not know that the Lord has a form, but they have a natural affinity for the impersonal. But like the four Kumaras, when they come in touch with the Lord, then their heart transforms, they become devotees, they are not envious. But Mayavadis generally decry the form of the Lord, and therefore they are considered aparadhis or offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna. So there is a distinction between the two. And as far as what destination a Brahmavadi who becomes a devotee will attain, that depends on the kind of association he has received to become a devotee and what kind of conception of the Supreme Lord he has, what kind of path he follows. So if he meets a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he gets influenced by that, then he will go on this path. If he meets somebody in some other path and becomes a devotee in that path, he will attain that destination. Okay?
Just little addition to what Maharaj said about the inconceivable question. Usually when it comes to inconceivable, to define this word inconceivable, achintya, Acharyas quote Mahabharata, achintya kaluya bhavanatam tarkena yojayet. Inconceivable means which is not really logical according to mundane logic. Therefore it is said simultaneous, inconceivable simultaneous oneness and difference. And there are plenty of inconceivable aspects in this philosophy. Like, if we're supposed to be, it's very easy to understand this example of the drop in the ocean or the ray of the sun and the sun. But this is just examples for our understanding. But if we go deeper into the philosophy, then there is a lot of inconceivable things. We are part of God, and how come we have so many nasty qualities? It means that these qualities are also qualities of God. So when this definition of inconceivable is applied, the meaning is that the material logic doesn't work here, but there is scriptural logic. Inconceivable doesn't mean that you don't understand it. Inconceivable means that you don't understand it by the means of material logic. But if you adopt the logic of the scriptures, which is transcendental, which is different, then it's very easy to understand. Inconceivable doesn't mean that you cannot conceive it at all. It just means that the material logic is not applicable in this case. That's only.
Maharaj, there is a question to His Holiness Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Maharaj. Here, Maharaj, this is a connected
It
question.
would be helpful if you raise your hand, otherwise it's an Akashvani coming from, we don't know who is asking the question, some demigods.
Maharaj, this is a connected question to the first session in the morning. So one was a question about pleasing the spiritual master. So where you told that we should have the right desire, and we have a spiritual master's instructions with us by which we can know whether he is pleased. And another question was about, like many things in ISKCON which have come in, like bathing in Kumbh Mela or following Bhishma Panchak, or going to Dham on our own, like that. And they are also told that it depends on the purpose for which we do these things, the motivations. So Maharaj, the question is that in the conditioned stage, after knowing the philosophy, we know that we have to please our Guru Maharaj, we have to please Krishna. So whatever we do, the mind is always convinced that this is the right thing to do, this is what will please my Guru Maharaj. So how do we really understand and analyze that whether my motivations are right, and whether what my mind is proposing is actually making a sense, or is it, cheating me? Because any devotee does anything, even if he's fighting with his, neighbor or roommate, he has that inner feeling that I'm right and I'm doing it for pleasing my Guru, or that feeling is not so easy to understand that I'm not right or I'm wrong. So how do we really understand the motivations we have, and we have a very clear knowledge of that, whether I'm right or I'm not right?
Yeah, it's very difficult. So there were two questions, right? What is the first one? Please repeat succinctly.
Maharaj, there is one question only. In the conditioned stage, whatever I do, mind says it is the right thing to do. In the conditioned stage, whatever decision I take or whatever action I do in bhakti, it looks right. So anything I do, I assume that it is pleasing my Guru Maharaj, or if I do anything else, that also looks that it is pleasing. So how do I really understand that my motivations are pure and it is really pleasing or not pleasing? What is the check for that? What is the, some kind of testing for that, whether my motivations are right or not right?
So let me repeat the question to make sure that I got it right. So your question is, whatever I do, it feels right to me, and I rationalize it that this is what Guru wants or whatever. But how to really distinguish between the real motivations and something which my mind tells me, right? Certainly, we are right by definition. That's our habitual understanding that we're always right. And whoever agrees with us, he's also right, and whoever disagrees, he's wrong. And definitely for some time this sort of idea will be lingering in the mind, but we should be very careful and observing how our spiritual master behaves himself, and you will be able to see how he makes his choices. Usually we do make our choices more or less automatically according to the system which we already have, acquired system. But when we become conscious, then first of all we understand more clearly what are the choices which we're doing, we're making by choosing one way or another. And if we also observe how the spiritual master and other devotees behave in these situations, then ultimately we will also follow their footsteps rather than the built-in system within our consciousness. So it's a learning process, and we study Shastra, we observe how other people behave, devotees behave, and it's a learning process. Gradually, our bhava will be different. That's the whole process of spiritual development, when we are still on this anishtita stage, unstable stage, when the mind still plays very important role, which Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur so vividly will describe in the later part of the same chapter. When we have all these waves within our mind, then definitely we will make mistakes. But if our general intention is pure, I want to please my spiritual master, I want to please the Lord, then gradually, in the due course of time, the waves on the surface of the mind will become less, and we reach the firm stage of Nishtha. Only in the stage of Nishtha we can be completely sure that our mind is okay. Before that, it's very dangerous, therefore we have to be very, very careful. So it's just a question of reaching the stage of Nishtha, which, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, will take you a couple of days.
So right now we are falling short of time. We'll conclude this session right now. Tomorrow also we'll have 1 full hour, and I have noted down some devotees who have raised their hands. So all of us will get chance tomorrow morning. So let us thank His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj and His Holiness Bhakti Vijnana Goswami Maharaj for this wonderful question answer session by loudly chanting Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So now we'll go doing Sankirtan. The local committee members have organized Deepotsav, wonderfully lit the entire premises. We'll go around for 15 minutes doing Sankirtan, and then we'll come here for dinner prasadam. Hare Krishna.